Tell me who rock, who sell out in the stores. You tell me who flop, who cop the blue drop, who jewels got blocks, who's mostly Dolce down to the blue drop. The same old pimp, Mace, you know ain't nothing changed but my limp. Can't stop till I see my name on the blimp. Guarantee a million sales, pull a level up. You don't believe in Harlem World, nigga, double up. We don't play around, it's a bet, lay it down. Niggas didn't know me 91, bet they know me now. I'm the young Harlem nigga with the Goldie sound. Can't no PD, niggas hold me.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all. It is the time for the Money Time podcast once more, our episode 9. Today's topic is quite interesting for viewers who are interested in saving. But before we go there, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself and my co-host here. My name is Zweli. I wouldn't say much about me for today, and it's because of maybe the topic today. It's more, it needs more of Nikki's input because she is the right person. By the way, Nikki is a certified financial planner with the Financial Planning Institute of South Africa, a certified money coach, and a certified business archetype coach. Nikki, how are you today?
Evening, everyone. Evening, Zweli. I'm doing great. I trust everyone is doing well and safe and warm at home.
We are keeping warm, definitely safe. I'm sure people are safe. And actually, I'm hoping that people are safe. Talking about today's topic, straight to it, Nikki. It's July, and you just, in the past few weeks, you've been teaching me that July is an officially savings month in South Africa. I didn't know that. I don't want to lie and act as if I knew it. Thanks to the Money Time podcast and you as our expert here in terms of the financial issues. So yeah, I was just going to go into it. Today's topic is National Savings Month in South Africa, which is July. So we thought we would end the month with that episode so that we can educate people. In fact, when I say we as the Money Time podcast, but today you are going to be handling a lot of things here. I'm just going to be more following. It's going to be more different compared to the other topics or a podcast, and solely because of it requires your expertise. And like I said, I didn't even know about July being a savings month. All I knew, it was one of those tough months because it's just in the middle. Okay. So yeah. So Nikki, we're just going to go straight into it. Let's talk about this National Savings Month. What is that? What is National Savings Month?
Really, before I provide a response, I'd just like to make a disclosure from my side. So in terms of the Financial Advisory and Intermediary Services Act, I am accredited as a FACE representative, and I am licensed to provide advice and intermediary services to clients. In today's podcast, where possible, all the information given will be factual. It should not be misconstrued as advice, and where possible, we encourage all viewers to make contact with the certified financial planner and ask whatever questions they need to ask and get professional advice. So in terms of your question, what is National Savings Month? National Savings Month is the month that we put aside to discuss all things savings related. This is an initiative that comes from the Savings Institute of South Africa. So the whole purpose of the initiative is to challenge consumers to strive towards savings and to provide education to those who are unaware of savings or savings initiatives that are out there.
Oh, okay. Sounds interesting. It looks like there's a lot that we are going to be educated on here. And I heard something, I don't know if I heard you correctly, but this initiative somehow also, it's meant to challenge consumers. When you look at the term consumer, and it's more like an opposite of a saver. So I'm glad that in this case, somehow this institution is challenging people who are always consuming to learn or start, doing the opposite, which is a good thing. You hardly get those honest type of initiatives, which it's very encouraging to hear. But like I said, I'm not going to be on a lot of comments today. I'm more on the questions. So I'm just gonna go straight to my second question, Nikki. What are the stats in terms of savers or people who save in South Africa versus people that are under debt management? And the reason why I think this is very important, so that we have a picture in terms of how things are looking in our country.
Thanks for the question, Zweli. Before I get into a response, I just want to touch on the term consumer, and just to let you know that consumer is the literal meaning. So it's just making reference to anyone out there in the country and not necessarily people who consume.
No, definitely, I understand. I was just saying, when I look at it, like in that literal sense, to say, if you are a consumer, you are a person that consumes or that buys or that actually, uses product. But in this case, when you're talking about introducing this money saving, you mentioned as consumers being challenged, and I think I was triggered. My thoughts were triggered to say, "Oh wow, this institution is actually doing something for everyone because I believe everyone is a consumer. So
yes,
it's
correct.
For specific people, but the opportunities for everyone to learn how to save."
Correct. Okay, Zweli. So going back to your question, let me just take a look at my notes. So in terms of the latest stats from Stats SA, they say South Africans are heavily indebted, but they are looking for relief options. And in terms of the latest stats, there is more than 50% of South Africa's credit active consumers, which totals 19 million, who are currently over indebted.
Oh, yeah, it looks like a big number, eh? It certainly is a big number. And obviously, those stats, they suggest that, because if people are indebted, it means it's difficult for them to save.
Correct.
In my thinking, that's where I'm actually going with this, that it actually means that it's going to be difficult for people who are under debt management to be saving, because I'm sure they are trying to focus on repaying their debts. And it's probably a question that everyone has, in terms of now the fact that I'm indebted. Where do I even start saving? How do I even start talking savings when I have a debt? So but then my question to you is, I don't want to obviously try and ask questions on behalf of everyone, but it could be a question that pops up to a person right now. Thinking on your feet, what would you say to a person like that, Nikki, where I'm actually thinking, I want to save, but I'm indebted? Where do I start?
So the only place you can start is by firstly paying off your debt. and if there's any surplus whatsoever, you can try and put it. But I mean, if you only earning 10 rands and the entire 10 rands is going towards debt, there's no room for you to save. Then you're going to have to look at priorities, pay off your debt as quickly as possible, and then you can start looking at saving.
No, I'm happy with that honest answer, Nikki, because I was wondering how you're going to answer that, but it sounds very honest and it makes sense. And I'm sure viewers at home have heard that the first thing you need to do is to clear your debt so that you can save peacefully. Otherwise, it can't be that start saving now while you have tons of debts facing you. Okay, thank you. And so my next question
Zweli, sorry, I only shared the stats in terms of over indebtedness. I didn't get to the stats around savings.
Okay, thank you on that.
So this is information that I've taken from the South African, from the Savings Institute of South Africa, sorry. And according to their stats, they say that research has shown that more than 80% of middle income consumers, so these are consumers who earn between 15,000 and 42,000 rands per month, have no or limited savings that they're able to access within 7 days in terms of an emergency. And they go on further to say around 27% have no emergency savings, and 56% have savings amounting to less than 1 week's worth of take-home pay. So as you can see from these figures, there is a huge gap in South Africa in terms of all the different income classes. And the gap is that people are not saving enough.
Yeah, I'm actually going back to one of the podcasts we did, and you said for one to be or to feel that they are okay, they should at least have, if I'm not mistaken, either 3 or 6 months.
6 months worth of expenses saved, correct.
Expenditure. And now here the states are saying that the middle class consumers, if I got it right, or those who earn between 15 and 46 or
42,000.
They have no emergency fund savings.
No or limited savings, correct.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people that falls under that bracket, and when you look at also the steps, the steps further that you've mentioned, it suggests the whole picture is that we do not have a lot of people that are saving in our country, especially if you think about that bracket, 15 to 42,000. There's a lot of people that falls under that bracket. Like I'm trying to think in terms of like just thinking out of everything, that when you look at that, that's mainly probably a lot of people that would earn between 15 and 42, but from 42 going up, there isn't more people than the ones on that bracket. So it just tells us that we still have a long way to go in terms of learning how to save as a nation. And if you think about it, Nikki, it could be something that this is not an advice. This is just an opinion. The fact that the states are like this, it looks like people are normalizing not saving, because it's okay not to save, because we understand the conditions, the economic situation of the country, the rate of unemployment, And it could be that it's starting from that, and it just becomes okay not to save. And maybe this is the time that, because honestly, when COVID came, it really showed us flames. A lot of us were affected, including myself. I know this. All in all, I think we get the picture that we do not have that culture right. We haven't found the right culture of savings as a nation. And I think it's a good initiative that we can all adopt and try and learn from it, because it's better to save than to just use your money unwisely. So I think it would be a good thing for us as a nation to start adopting the culture of saving money for especially for emergencies, and for also just to learn to wait, Nick, because sometimes I think that's the problem. We just can't wait. You want this thing, and you feel that I can save for it, but I just can't wait to have it. And you buy it, and you feel like you start having those consumer's remorse, and you start feeling like I could have maybe waited, things like that. So maybe, instilling the culture of savings and being patient with your savings and learning to invest, it would help. Yeah, moving along to our next question. What is the difference between savings and investing, Nikki, if there's any?
Zweli, that's a really good question. And yes, there is a difference. I say it's a good question because a lot of people tend to use the words interchangeably, but they do not understand the difference between it. So a simple explanation would be that savings is money that you put away for a short period of time, which is anything from a week to no longer than 6 months. And savings is generally, the purpose of savings is generally money for emergencies. Investing works on a more longer term period. So it's anything from 6 months to as long as 20 to 30 years. Now, examples of investing for longer term periods would be investing for specific goals, such as buying a house or for your child's education, and for things like retirement.
Okay. That's in fact what came into my head as you were explaining. I was thinking, okay, so you can't really say I'm saving for my child's education. You invest because that's a longer period, and then for your short-term goal, like a holiday, you want to go away in the next 3 months, so that is more like savings. You can't say you are investing for your holiday when you are planning to have a shorter period. So I think it makes sense, and it's something that we can start being able to differentiate. Okay. I don't think there's much there. It was straightforward. I hope the viewers at home, they now understand the difference between savings and investing, because we do use these terms incorrectly. You do they are used incorrectly. So maybe that would have made a difference for people to start having the correct picture of what is saving and what is investing. Okay. I've got a question here. What are the ways which viewers can start savings, and if they are already not saving? If they're not saving, what ways can you give for viewers to start saving?
Okay, sorry about that, Zweli.
No, I was just emphasizing what ways are available for viewers to learn on how to save.
Sure. So I'm going to touch on both savings and investments. So when I look at savings, savings would be more what we call your bank type of savings offerings, right? So these would be products that are available at the bank, and you can just walk into the bank, say you've got an X amount to save for each month, or for a lump sum for 3 months or 6 months. The bank would be able to assist you with these options. It's also important to note that when it comes with savings, what's really important is accessibility to the money, because these are monies you are more than likely saving for emergencies. If an emergency takes place, it doesn't come announced, right? It just happens. So you are going to need access to the funds immediately. So this would be more your banking type of savings products. Now, when it comes to investing for longer term periods, there's a whole array of products that are available. And I'm not only going to speak products, I'm going to speak about other methods that people can use as well. So if you're looking at products that are available from a financial services side, this could be anything from your unit trust portfolios, it could be shares, it could be things like your tax-free savings products. It all depends on your investment goal. It depends on your time horizon. It depends on the risk that you're willing to take. So these are all things that you would discuss with your financial planner, and then your financial planner would recommend a product appropriately. Having said that, saving through a bank or any financial services company isn't the only way a person can save. There are other informal methods of saving. A very popular one in South Africa is stokvels, right? So stokvels have been around for many years. A lot of South Africans use stokvels as a form of savings, and this has been going on, as I said, for many, many years. So this is something that viewers can possibly look at as well if they're not keen on going via the financial services route. Then there's also other what I call non-traditional ways of savings. Towards the end of last year, there was some videos going around on TikTok where it showed a guy who had a 2-liter plastic Coca-Cola bottle, and inside this bottle was coins and notes, all crumpled in. And his story was, at the start of Jan last year, right until the end of December, whatever surplus cash he had available on a daily basis or 2 or 3 times a week, he took his notes and he put it into the bottle. He put his coins into the bottle. And at the end of the year, he cut open his bottle and he took out all the money and he counted it. And I think he had over 20,000 or so. So that is an example of a very informal method of saving money. Now, the challenge with that particular method is, if the money was in the bank, you'd be earning some form of interest, right? But now, where you're saving your money in a piggy bank or a Coca-Cola bottle, you're not earning any interest. And then we've got the whole concept of the time value of money. And very briefly, the time value of money says 1 rand today is not going to be worth the same in 1 month's time. So that would be an example of an informal way of saving.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think I remember that type of a video that I saw. And, you know, as a nation, that doesn't really save. The way people were bashing the guy, saying, what do you, like, it was like he was bragging. Some people took it as if this person is bragging for us. He's trying to outsmart us or outshine us, because there were negative comments around it. But if you think about it, it's a very effective way for those people who always wants to see their money next to them. as they are saving. But like you are saying, the lesson around doing that informal type of saving is that it doesn't earn any interest. It's only that money that you have saved, but it's also effective because some people are just happy just to see their money growing right in front of their eyes, and they're inspired by that, and that makes them feel like, yeah, by the end of this year out, I want to see how much I have. Unlike if they were to put it in the bank, they feel like it's not gonna come back, or something will come up and they'll be forced to swipe it. But I remember also personal experience. I actually actually did it with coins. I think around 2019 I did, but only with coins, not with notes. And I remember around end of the year, because I used to do 5 rands, 2 rands. I remember in December I had something like 800 rands just from those coins.
Wow.
Didn't use the 2 liter. I just used, there were sweets containers from Spa that I used to like sweets a lot, and I had 2 of those filled with. Even now, I think I still have, but now I only have the one with the 50 cents, and I still do have. I still do keep those. So it does work. If I may also be put a testimony to that. But I do agree with you that it doesn't really generate any more money than it is. It's going to remain what it is. If you had to save it for a year, you get it exactly the way it is. Unlike with the banks, it has a bit of interest, which is the difference here. And the risk as well, if people were to break into your house, they take it, it's gone. But with the bank, there's no way that can happen. That's one other thing that we need to understand, that with the bank, if the bank was robbed, it's your account cannot wake money. That's the difference. But yeah, thank you, Nikki, and thank you for the information around investment, because most of us, we don't really have that information. I know some people will have the information on where to invest, but you spoke about something that is really interesting for me: the risks around investment. How does that work when you start talking risk? Because that means there's a difference between me investing, just putting money away for 10 years, and then there's a difference when there's an element of risk. Can you explain that?
Sure. So without going into very technical information and using terminology like standard deviation, etc., I'm going to put this in very simple terms, right? So there's a terminology that says the greater the risk, the greater the reward, right? Now, what this means is, if you're willing to take more risk, you could possibly get a higher return. But this also means that the higher the risk, the greater the risk of you losing everything that you have, right? So the only way we can get a fair match between risk and reward is when we work with clients, we say to them, we firstly determine what is their risk appetite or their risk tolerance. If you are a very conservative investor, then we're going to recommend portfolios to you that are in line with your risk tolerance or your risk appetite. Now, if we see, for example, Zweli, you are an investor who has a greater appetite for risk, then we can recommend portfolios to you that are more risky, taking into account that these risky portfolios could also could go either way. It could give you a great return, or you could also take a great risk as well. So risk is all linked to a person's risk appetite or risk tolerance. It's also linked to a person's goal and time horizon, right? For example, with very short-term savings goals like 5 years, we would not recommend that clients take a high risk because 5 years is a very short-term period. And if for some reason you lose out on a percentage of your portfolio value, it's gonna leave you very little time to make up what you've lost, right? But if you've got a higher if you've got a longer time horizon for your investment, like 15 to 20 years, then we could recommend more riskier portfolios, knowing that markets go up and down and markets will eventually rectify themselves in the event of any losses. And at the end of your time horizon period, it should match the return that you were looking for.
Okay. No, thank you for that one, Nikki. Here's an interesting question. I've actually seen a couple of tips and also posts around this question, where you are taught on maybe if you wanted to target a specific amount, this is how much you would have to save. If my goal was to be a millionaire in 5 years, and I want people to take note of this, and maybe they can even try it at home, probably. And in 5 years, come back to the Money Time podcast and tell us that, you know what, we are now millionaires because of the Money Time podcast.
Okay, so Zweli, once again, I'm going to go back to disclosure. As I earlier mentioned, I will strongly recommend that viewers consult with financial planners around this. But just to give you a quick response on this, this is quite a tricky question, because in order to reach a value of R1 million in 5 years' time, there's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration. So the first thing would be what I discussed earlier on, is the investor's risk appetite or risk tolerance, right? Because if a person's a very conservative investor, then it's going to take they're going to have to put away a much higher sum, because they're going to be taking a lower risk to try and get to that 1 million in 5 years. If you find a person's a more moderate investor, the amount they will put in would be very different. And then on the other hand, if you have a very risky investor, that's also tricky, because they could be putting in an X amount of money, but because they're taking risk and due to market fluctuations and volatility, they may not end up getting what they need to during a 5-year term period. So I know I'm going around in circles and not giving you the response that you're looking for, but if I may offer an estimate, without taking all these other factors into account, it would be an amount of between 14,000 to 20,000 rands per month.
14 to 20.
Correct.
Viewers at home, there you have it. Thank you, Nikki. So if people were to save around between 14 and 20 consistently, religiously, so every month for the next five years, they will end up being millionaires. There you have it. You can't become a million. So it is possible. It is possible. It sounds like it's a difficult thing to do. It is under the economic circumstances, but it's possible. So if you've always wanted to be a millionaire and you always have a surplus of 20,000, then you've got yourself to blame now, because the Money Time podcast has just revealed that it's possible for you to become a millionaire in the next, especially if you do have a surplus of about 20K a month. And we do have a lot of people who does have that. So before we go into tips, I have just a departing one based on what you've given us. And I'm actually thinking back, and as you are talking, I'm realizing that it's either we are aware of savings, but we feel it's not something that we want to do. You know, I've seen a couple of posts on Facebook, even on Twitter, where people would be like, they would want to compare the value that one consume in terms of alcohol or cigarettes or entertainment, and the value of buying bags of cement. And when they do this calculations, they'll make you realize that you can actually, with the money that, if you are complaining, if you're drinking so much per month or a day, for example, if you're drinking 80 rands a day, 80 rands a day, doesn't sound like a lot of money, Nikki. For those who drink, I'm not too sure, but I know that in these restaurants, you can get just a small 500 milliliters of a cider at 40 rands. So it means it's 2 ciders. That's a bag of cement, according from those people that analyze this. That's 1 bag of cement. So if you've already had, in a week, if you have, let's say, 10 beers, it means you would have lost the opportunity to buy 5 bags of cement. So, and these analyses are very tricky and crazy to think about, but they're actually showing that people are mindful of savings and they're mindful of investing. It's just that they probably don't want to or don't really take it serious in terms of applying the investment.
Zweli, that's very interesting information that you've shared. And as I listen to you, you know, this just takes me to my role as a certified money coach, because these type of things deal with people's thoughts, emotions, and feelings around money.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just needed to like, because as you're talking, I'm having a lot of thoughts, but because this is not my platform for today, I just wanted to share that, and I'm clear that is not an advice; it's just a thought. Nikki, last point. Any tips for viewers on around savings?
So Zweli, I mean, this is my area of expertise. So, you know, I can keep you all on for hours going on and giving several tips, but I'll keep it brief and share 3 very important tips. So the first one is a famous quotation by Einstein, where he says that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. So what do I mean by this? What people often say is, earlier on you said to me, you know, what happens if a person wants to save, but they're under debt management and they can't save? You know, in that case, it's clear, if you're under debt management, you've got no surplus money to save. You can't do anything about it, right? But you often have people on the other side where they do possibly have surplus money available, but they're spending 80 rands per day on spirits or alcohol or whatever it is, no judgment. And those type of people will often say, oh, I know I need to save, for example, for retirement, but I'll start saving when I get a better job, or I'll start saving when I pay off all my debt, or I'll start saving when I pay off my bond, etc. Now, if there are viewers out there who currently have that mindset, I urge you to reframe immediately. Now, why do I say this? Because I've mentioned the concept of compound interest. What this means is the earlier you start saving, the more you have in the end, because of the impact of compound interest. So if we use another example like retirement, people should start saving for retirement as soon as they get their first job, or even sooner if possible, right? But a lot of people, you'll find, they start their first job, they're 22, they say, I've got to buy a car, I've got to save for a house. I've got to save for a wedding. I'll start saving for my retirement when I'm 30. They reach age 30, then they'll say, I've got to save for school fees. I've got a second child on the way. I've got to buy a new vehicle. I'll save when I'm 40. Then they get to 40 and then they say, oh, I'm running out of time. I'm going to retire when I'm 60. I've got 20 years. And then they come to a financial planner and say, help, I need to start saving for retirement. And then it's never too late, but it's almost late, if that makes sense, right? Because it's not how much you save. What matters is that you do put money away. So if there's anything that the viewers take away from today's podcast, it's me saying to you, it doesn't matter how much you put away. What does matter is that you do put something away. So the first tip would be around compound interest. The second tip is a slightly technical one. And this one is, it's not about timing the market. It's about time spent in the market. So what do I mean by this? In simple terms, you have a lot of clients out there who like to time the market. So they'll call up their financial planner and say, hey, where can I invest? Which portfolios are trending right now? And the portfolio will say, for example, let's look at Allan Gray as a fund manager. And they'll go and put money in Allan Gray. And then when Allan Gray is not doing well, they'll call the financial planner. Where can I now put money? And that's not the way you do it. You don't time the market. You spend time in the market. So in that example, even if Allan Gray was no longer doing well, the investor should remain in that portfolio. The markets will rectify themselves and the client will start earning a better return in the future. So just to stress, it's not about timing the market or chasing after trending portfolios or fund managers. It's just about committing to a time period and spending time in the market. The final tip, if it's too good to be true, it often is. Now, this is something, Zweli, you're laughing on that end. I'm certain you've got stories for us. Now, this one is very dear and near to my heart because a lot of people out there like instant gratification. They want to receive double-digit returns in a space of 2 to 3 months. And they'll come to me and say, hey, I've got X amount to invest. What will I get when I give them the return? We speak about it, etc. They'll say, thank you, but no thank you, Nikki. I'm going to invest in cryptocurrencies where I can get a double-digit return in a space of 2 weeks. And I say, well, off you go. And you know what? These clients come back to me after a month or two because they've lost everything they've put in. That is why I say, if it's too good to be true, it often is. And I've just used cryptocurrency as an example. This is not advice. There's other examples that I can give. A lot of these different Ponzi schemes out there, like Triple M, etc. Just be really cautious. Everyone wants to make money, but when you're looking at investing, invest in reputable companies. Invest in companies with a proven track record, not a company that's been around for a few months or a year or two. So those would be my 3 main tips for the viewers.
Well, thank you very much, Nikki. There's a lot that rings in my head when you talk about if it's too good to be true. It's like that. So but I'm not going to go there. But I think it's important for viewers to take your advice to say, stay away from quick money schemes that you see out there, because we've seen stories, we've had relatives, we've had friends People have even lost their lives because you end up, a person takes their retirement and invests in some,
Ponzi scheme.
and the next thing, that company is gone, and you are found wanting, and you end up committing suicide because you lost everything. You know, you are ashamed of facing the world. So yeah, it can really go wrong. The stories are funny, the stories are sad there. So having said that, let's all be careful around that. Be careful where you want to invest. Be careful where how you decide to do your savings, because it can go wrong either way. So thank you very much, Nikki. In fact, I have a lot, especially around this point that I'm thinking of, but for the sake of time, I want to just stop there today and say thank you very much for educating us today. I feel like a lot has been said, and one thing that I'm taking, especially around the markets, is that don't wait for the times in the markets, be within the markets. I think I got it right there. So, and go for credible in companies that are known with a good record. Those are the things that I'm taking away today. And there's a lot that I'm thinking around that, which I'm hoping that can help me in my thoughts as I'm listening to you. Thank you very much. And this is it for today from us, the Money Time Podcast team. Thank you very much and goodbye. Nikki, your last thoughts?
Viewers, thank you so much for your time. Zweli, thanks for a great show. I trust everyone has a wonderful rest of the evening, and we look forward to engaging with you at our next podcast. Bye.
Who's hot, who not? Tell me who rock, who sell out in the stores. You tell me who flop, who cop the blue drop, who jewels got blocks, who's mostly Dolce down to the blue drop. The same old pimp, Mace, you know ain't nothing changed but my limp. Can't stop till I see my name on the blimp. Guarantee me and sales pull a level up. You don't believe in Harlem World, nigga, double up. We don't play around, it's a bet, lay it down. Niggas didn't know me 91, bet they know me now. I'm the young Harlem nigga with the Goldie sound. Can't no PD, niggas hold me down. Cooler, school me to the game, now I know my duty. Stay humble, stay low, blow like Hootie. True pimp, niggas spin no dough on the